It's time for this week's Parting Shots.
Last Sunday night, the hashtag #WeWannaPlay left sports Twitter riveted as several college football players stated their desire to play football this fall, many believing they're safer within their programs than anywhere else. It seemed at odds with the We Are United movements from the Pac-12 and Big Ten, feeling like undercutting the players fighting for improved health and safety protocols, racial justice, and compensation. Well, next thing you know, a couple of calls took place and the movements aligned, with some of the biggest names in college football spreading the message, including Trevor Lawrence. With hindsight, it's silly that anyone truly saw those two movements as opposing each other. It was too easy to forget that while the players in the Pac-12 and Big Ten wanted more than they were receiving, they always wanted to play. They wanted to be heard and respected, and they required improved circumstances. While many of the players behind We Want to Play movement didn't agree with every plank of the United movement, why wouldn't they want universal health and safety protocols? The bottom line is everyone wants college football. Maybe not so much to ignore science and common sense, but few will be better off without it. No one supposedly rooting for the virus will say, "Whew, glad there's not much college football on this fall." But no one loses more than the players. For them, losing a season is devastating, pragmatically and emotionally. This is their passion and, for many, their ticket. They deserve to play more than we deserve to watch them. To the players losing a season, I extend my sympathies. The adults who think anyone likes the current state of affairs, I wish they'd shut the hell up.
As the college football community continues to try to figure out the fall landscape, it's only become more confusing for many football fans as the Big Ten and Pac-12 announced they are postponing fall sports, while the ACC, Big 12, and SEC push ahead with an eye towards playing. This difference in approach has raised a debate regarding medical expertise, knowing that the NCAA doesn't have one set of experts to make the rules, instead letting each conference establish their own panels and protocols. While some media members and fans question the logic behind this, I believe it's the right approach. Much of the decision-making process right now revolves around limiting future liability should, God forbid, something go drastically wrong. With that in mind, why would a conference want to rely on someone else's experts if they may be in a position someday where they have to defend their decisions and their decision-making process in a court of law or in the court of public opinion? If you need personal medical care, wouldn't you want to have some say in picking someone who you are comfortable taking advice and treatment? When you need to make tough decisions, don't you want to pick the experts who have your life and career in their hands? Why is this any different? In the end, university presidents have to stand confidently behind their decision, no matter how they end up moving forward. I, for one, would feel more comfortable if I were in their shoes, knowing that I'm relying on expertise that I had a hand in picking, knowing that no compromises were made when it comes to how I garner the information necessary to make the right decision for today and for the future of any institution I'm in charge of. None of this is easy, and that makes having confidence in the process even more important for people making impossibly difficult decisions.
Give the NFL some credit. Dr. Alan Sills, their chief medical officer, says the league's positive testing rate for coronavirus is well below the summer threshold they set for avoiding outbreaks. Now, of course, players are just starting traditional football practices, but this is good news for a league just itching to play. But that's still no reason to play games with COVID-19. Look no further than college football. The Big Ten and Pac-12 postponing fall sports out of COVID-19 concerns. And on Thursday, this important news. Dr. Brian Hainline, the NCAA's chief medical officer, and its two leading infectious disease experts, says the nation's focus should be on controlling COVID-19, not playing fall sports. One advisor is saying he feels like the Titanic, likening talk of playing fall sports over the pandemic to hitting an iceberg, but trying to decide what time the band should play. Is the NFL listening to this? Because the same applies to them. After all, there's a reason this is called the novel coronavirus. It's a new strain never before seen in humans. And yes, we've seen bubbles work relatively well, while sports without bubbles have struggled. Can we really be willing to risk the safety of human beings just to play sports, any sports, this fall? I don't have a solution, and I'm not an expert, but it seems to me the experts are saying virus control first, sports second. And I hope the NFL is listening.
Look, this is pretty simple. Despite the ACC, Big 12, and SEC still maintaining that they intend to play, There are so many places where college football will not be played this fall because the pandemic is still raging. It's not being played because we have failed to contain the coronavirus. It's not being played because the conferences could not come up with a plan that would make it safe. Couldn't even come up with a plan for uniform protocols. It's not good enough if Stanford has one plan and Arizona State has another. If one school is testing all the time and at another they aren't. They had 5+ months to come up with a feasible plan, but they didn't or couldn't. At least not a plan that satisfied the medical experts or gave players and their parents enough confidence that the priority would be safety. So now fans will suffer. Players and coaches will suffer. University budgets and local economies built on football will suffer. And yes, media behemoths like ESPN and Fox will suffer too. It didn't have to be this way, but for too many schools, the risks were simply too great, and they couldn't figure out a way to manage them. That is the simple reality.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.